Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our webinar, 10 Things You Must Do in Tough Times to Not Only Survive But Grow. My name's Peter Scolari, and again, welcome. We have a number of people on the call from across Australia, which is great. Just a little bit of housekeeping, if you don't mind. If you have any questions, you should be able to see that you can type those in through your webinar application there. So if you have anything, please let us know. We will check that from time to time and make sure that we get to those where we can. We'll go through the presentation. It'll take about 35-40 minutes, then we'll finish up with some questions. So with that in mind, we might get things started. So I suppose in times of when times do get a bit tougher, it's very tempting in business to complain and blame others and unforeseen events, and a lot of us to actually think that we're in a bit of a crisis mainly because the times are tougher. But I think, realistically, we need to look at these. If things are a bit tough, then, and even if they're not, we need to look at business as an opportunity, and we always should be looking to see if we can get our business's house in order. And usually there's no better time than to get it going when times are tougher. So what I would strongly suggest is that rather than we sit there waiting for things to happen and perhaps take the idea that things are getting a bit tight, now is the time that you really should be focusing on improving your business, because not only will you have a bit of time to do that, it'll actually help you give you a much better chance getting through the bad times. But what you will find is that when the good times are there, you really are taking advantage of the good times, and there aren't any leakages that are slipping through. Because in reality, when things are good, people think they're travelling along all right and there's no need to do the basics and to keep an eye on things because they have a bit of cash and things are going well. However, the reality is they're actually wasting money and not realising that they could be actually making the business a lot more efficient and even doing better. And so it's not until times get bad that people start to say, right, now I need to look for leakages and how can we fix it and whatnot. I would be very careful. One of the strategies, of course, in a downturn is to cut costs. And yep, that's definitely one of the strategies that we all should look at when we're looking at how we're spending our money in the business. However, we need to be very careful that we just don't cut everything out altogether. That can actually end up being quite disastrous. So I will touch on that, but I would just say have a word of warning about cutting costs completely willy-nilly. It could actually start a downward spiral, so be very careful of that. So I have 10 tips that I'd like to go through, and I should just preface these tips and say, well, look, these aren't tips that are absolutely mind-shattering and brilliant, but they are tips that we should be reminding ourselves on what we should be doing. And I can actually say to you that in our case, we actually went through this, our business here, whereby we knew we had a client, a once-off client for 12 months. It was a special assignment, and it was over $500,000, and we actually sat down and had a plan to actually replace those fees, within the next 12 months. And I can tell you that by following some of these key principles, not only did we replace that $500,000 worth of fees, we actually improved on that number as well. So, a great believer in this, and part of that is, first of all, is tip number one, just have a plan. And for those of you that have been listening or watching my videos or webinars before, you would know that this is something I've been banging on about for a long time, because it is just absolutely critical, and that's a critical thing that I endorse, but unfortunately very few actually do it, or ones that do it perhaps could do it a little bit better. So I think, you know, having a plan is obviously crucial to working out how you're going to get through through the downturn. And one of the things that you need to do first of all is to have a look at what your numbers currently look like. You know, do you understand them? Has your accountant actually advised you what they actually mean? Do you have an idea on trends? And do you understand what are the key critical drivers? So if we just have a brief look at an example, and if I have a look at, say, a business, this is a sample. So we have a company called ABC Proprietary Limited, and typically what we would do is actually look at the last 3 years. So in this case it's 11, 12, 13. I have actually got some projections in there for 2014. This is a sample. And then we would enter in some key numbers from both the profit and loss statement and the balance sheet. Then what we would look at is what we would perform what we call an annual business review. And we would look at things like revenue, profit, etc. And then we would produce what we call as a KPI report. So if you look at this particular example, you'll see that the company did well in had 3.6 million dollars worth of sales in 2011, a slight drop in 2012, and there was an increase in 2013. One of the things that we would look at here is things like gross profit percentage. Has there been a bit of a trend? In this particular case, the gross margin was 29% in 2011. It dropped in 2012. There was slightly an increase, and hence the green tick for 2013. But in terms of some of the key drivers, is we need to look at it and identify any trends that could actually be quite concerning. So if the gross profit is dropping, or sales are dropping, we want to know why. And similarly, if salaries, for example, as a percentage of revenue, are actually increasing, we want to be making sure that those salaries, one, first of all, are reasonable, and two, that we're not carrying any excess baggage. And obviously we need to look at net profit after tax. In terms of some of the balance sheet ratios, some of the things that we need to look at is what we call current ratio. That's probably a measure of you know, the ability to pay our current liabilities, and so, you know, we would normally want a current ratio you know, of somewhere between 1 and 2 as a minimum. That just means our current assets are more than our current liabilities. Our debtor days, we would look at clients, and you'll see here that the debtor days for this particular sample or this company in 2011 it was taking 58 days to get paid. 2012 it was actually 77 days, and we actually did a bit of work with them, and we brought the debtor days back quite a bit to 49. Obviously that affects cash flow. Look at creditor days and look at inventory days to see how often we're turning you know, things around or turning the stock over. So we just go back to presentation. Once we understand what the drivers look like and how we have been performing, then we need to have a sit down and think what we'd like the numbers to look like in the next 12 months, 2 years, 3 years and beyond. So, you know, whilst I'm all for conservatism and we don't want to live in an unreal world, I do believe that when we set our numbers and our budgets, we shouldn't be just taking last year's and either adding or keeping the numbers the same. You know, I think we need to decide we want to have a business by design. We want to work out what the numbers we would like to look like, you know, within realistic proportions, but then we then need to actually say, well, look, this is what we would like to see. We believe it is possible, but then we need to work out, well, what are the rocks that are stopping these things? What are some of the things that are stopping us from achieving this? In terms of looking at that, that's when we get into what we call strategic planning. So if we wanted to have a one-page strategic plan, for example, which is something that we believe is critical. It's simple, it's easy, it's relatively easy to put together, and it'll have a number of things like strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats, but it's all will fit on an A3 page. But it's here we start to have some goals for not only the 3 years, but obviously the next 12 months and then the next quarter. So we actually break it down and then we have a look at, start to have a bit of a session on saying, well, how are we actually going to make these numbers happen? We know that if we hit these targets in terms of number of clients, and this is an example of an engineering company, there's any type of business can do the same thing, but we'll have a look at some of their key drivers, or some of the key drivers that we need to be looking at, and then around these, behind these, we will have some strategies, some actions. We'll look at our key capabilities, and then we'll actually work out some targets. This number of clients, for example, the dark green's really good, light green's good, yellow is about, for the year would be okay. Red zone is like we're not hitting our targets, and you'll see across here we're actually looking at these quarterly as well, and we'll update this each quarter. The idea of the one-page plan is to simplify it, not have pages and pages of rhetoric, and I'm not suggesting that a detailed business plan is necessarily a bad thing at all. However, we're trying to put this onto an overview, and it does make it easier to discuss some of the strategies and key things we need to do with our team. So if you really want to get ahead and you want to make things simplified, and I would recommend showing the team. A lot of people are concerned about that. I have, particularly the management team. A lot of people and business owners get worried about showing their bottom line and their numbers. Ultimately, I believe that can be a bit of a mistake, because if you want team buy-in, they need to understand where the business is headed, where it's trying to get to in 3 years, and get an overall understanding if you want engagement. So the one-page strategic plan is a very powerful tool, and again, we've used this very successfully, and I would highly recommend it. All right, so in terms of, once we've done that, we then need to just check that we are having a look at our cash flow and making sure it's converting into cash. Some of you will have already seen what we call three-way budget, but again, I would strongly recommend that we do the numbers. And if you wanted to have a look at how the profit actually converts into cash, then you would definitely have a look at something like this. The ABC Proprietary Limited, here are the targets for the next 12 months, being adjusted for seasonality. We're looking at gross profit. This is the profit itself. In terms of the balance sheet, if we do those numbers based on certain assumptions, that means our balance sheet will look approximately like this, to actually talk to each other. And finally, we can see what the result is in terms of actual cash flow, which is everything from GST included, to paying the tax office, to actually taking dividends, drawings, loan repayments, etc. So we can actually predict what our bank balance is going to look like. If we have an overdraft situation where our limit is about 400,000, then we can see that we're going to run into a bit of trouble here. So we either need to start fiddling with our cash flow and improving things like our debtor days, creditor days, or inventory days, and if we don't think we can fix those quickly, then obviously we're going to run out of money, and we need to start thinking of alternatives with capital injections, either letting the bank know that we can see that we have got a plan, we do have a strategic plan, but we can see we're running a bit short, but we will be actually able to bring it back under the limit. And it's much better, of course, to let our banks know, or our bank manager know in advance where we're at, where we can see it's heading, rather than waiting for us to get in a situation where we haven't got enough money and we then start scrambling. So I hope all that makes sense. In terms of monitoring, this is absolutely critical to getting through the tougher times. It's one thing to actually understand your numbers and then saying, right, this is what we'd like the numbers to look like 1, 2, 3 years. Put it all together, import some of those things, the P&Ls, budgets and balance sheet budgets into our MYOB Live, Xero, or whatever system we use. But of course it's not much good if we're not keeping an eye on those, so on a regular basis, because we need to understand what we expected to happen. If it's not occurring with the actual, then we need to investigate why. And it could be for a number of different reasons. It could be that some of the plan didn't work. Maybe there was some leakage in terms of price increases that we were going to put in, maybe in certain products or services, and maybe that didn't actually happen. It could be that we misunderstood some of our expenses, or we did put some extra expenses on without actually allowing for them. So we need to understand that, and we need to have a look at a monitoring system. So I hope all that makes sense. This particular tip, number 1, spend a little bit more time on it, but it is absolutely crucial, and you should be doing these things. And if you're not doing these things and you're not sure how to, then you should be getting help. In terms of second tip, we'll look. One of the key things in harder times is to make sure we look after existing clients. You can appreciate that losing or finding a new client is typically much more expensive than losing an existing client. So you can bet your bottom dollar that in tougher times there will be competitors out there trying to win your business across, just like you'll be trying to win other business across as well. And I think it's important that you do not lose sight of your existing clients, and that you should actually keep in contact with them and tell them that you appreciate your business. And it's not a hard thing to do. It's in terms of contacting them and seeing what's happening with them. Doesn't necessarily have to sell them something at the time or charge them anything for doing that. But just by contacting them, seeing how they're going, setting up an appointment, that is giving you a much better chance of keeping them. Consider things for rewarding their loyalty. You've all heard of loyalty cards, etc. I think they're a very good strategy. You might decide to hold some client events or give out some gift certificates, maybe. I'm not saying you go silly, it'll cost you a fortune, but you should actually reward your good clients and your loyal clients for the fact that they've been with you for quite a while, and you stand a much better chance of keeping them. Again, have a regular contact system in place. How many of you are doing things like newsletters? Be proactive. If you're selling a certain product or service and you know that there's some changes afoot in the industry, either through legislation, or if you know that there are some price rises coming through from your suppliers, then why not contact your customers and just let them know about that in advance. That can be a very good strategy to get some sales in, because they don't want to be paying more. They would appreciate the call that you let them know before the prices went up. So the question would be, how are you currently keeping in contact with your clients? What are you doing? If you stopped and looked at your business right now, how you're actually staying in contact with the people that actually spend money with you already. Tip number 3 is very important. Again, that might sound a bit basic, but in tougher times it's tempting to obviously let employees go. In some cases that there's no doubt that sometimes has to happen. However, again, it's very expensive if you lose some of your best employees. Training wise, they estimate that it can cost anywhere up to 6 months of salary to put on a new employee, train them. So it's pretty important that you do your best to hang on to your best employees in harder times and in the downturn. So look at some bonus programs. Do you have them? Make sure they're tied to performance. If you have good employees and you want to keep them well rewarded, we'll give them some incentive as well. And look at there's various ways of actually offering bonus programs for employees. So if some of you haven't got those, you need to perhaps consider what options are there for different types of bonus programs, and then offer them to your employees. Hold your reviews. Make sure that you're holding employee reviews at least annually. It's amazing how many businesses don't hold annual business reviews or quarterly business or 6 monthly, and then they wonder why their team actually leave, because their team just aren't getting the feedback on how they're performing. So very important. Ask for input from your employees as well, about the business. And again, if you held a one-page, if you've run a strategic planning session and getting them involved, making them feel important, getting the engagement and asking for their input, doesn't mean you have to follow everything that they suggest, of course, but it does make them feel part of the goal that you're trying to achieve. Hold regular meetings with the team. We are a great fan of daily huddles. At 9:42 every weekday morning, we actually meet for 15 minutes in a circle, standing up. We ask three questions. We go around to each employee just so that everyone knows what they're doing, and then we'll hold a weekly meeting, just going on where we're at with our targets, etc. So that might sound like meetings, but believe me, again, it was part and critical to our success in what we've achieved in the last 12 months. And I highly recommend that you go through that process as well, or consider that if you're not holding regular meetings. Let your employees know that they're appreciated. Again, a very basic concept, but you need to do that. Consider holding a survey. So we have a number of survey programs that we offer our clients that they can actually use to give to their employees to fill in, just to find out. Part of that, of course, will come out in the review, but there are various surveys out there finding out what your employees are thinking about. So again, question would be, with this tip, what are you doing to keep your best employees? Just ask yourself that, are we doing some of those things? Tip number 4, and one that I also am pretty passionate about, and that is marketing. And so, market. A lot of businesses, what they do is they will do a bit of marketing ad hoc. It's there might be a bit of marketing when times are good. Sometimes when times are good, they don't market because they don't think they need to. I think that's a mistake. And of course, when times are bad, then they say, well, look, now we can't afford to market, so then they stop marketing, which is even worse in my opinion. So there's a number of different ways to market. There's doesn't have to be expensive in this day and age. Again, you need to have a budget though. There will be some cost. For some of you, it might well be that you need a full-time marketer, someone in charge of it. Again, that costs money, but build it into your budget and then plan for it. And obviously, by having a marketer, you'll expect to see that you're getting more leads. So and then you need to actually measure how that's going. So have a look at your website and make sure it's updated. Your brand and what your message is to your market. Consider social media. Facebook is real, and it can be used as a market and a lead generator. SEO is search engine optimization. If you need to drive traffic to your site, of course you need to have a good website if you're going to do that. Have a database of not only clients but prospects. So again, work out who your clients or your ideal target clients are, customers, and profile them and put together a list of those and get them into a database. Measure results of advertising, the leads from your advertising. So if you are going to spend money on marketing, and work out what it is costing you to generate those leads. But then work out, so your suspects are the people that you would like to be your clients. Your leads are those from the suspects out of those leads that you've contacted that have shown interest in your product. Prospects are those who would like a quote, or a price to do something with you. And then the conversion rates of clients is obviously the conversion of those prospects, and keep track of that. So once you start to get a handle on these numbers in terms of your marketing all the way through from suspects, leads, prospects to conversion rates, then you can get a bit of an idea on how they flow through into the numbers and into your budgeting. So if you can see that you're not getting enough leads, then obviously side of your marketing's not working, or there's not enough activity from your sales team. If your conversion rate doesn't look reasonable, looks very low, it could be that maybe you're too dear, maybe you're not standing out from the market, maybe your sales team aren't actually well versed in product knowledge, and maybe they just don't know how to sell. So all these things should be looked at. You should have a handle on these, particularly if you're going to market. So, ask yourself, what marketing are you doing at the moment? And, the key to marketing, in my opinion, is consistency. If you're just doing ad hoc stuff here and there, and it doesn't necessarily, when you just do one thing and say it didn't work, you need a combination of different things, and you need to be consistent, budget for it, and if you're not being consistent, then what you will find is that sometimes that marketing that you've done initially is pretty much a waste of money. You need to be out there and you need to be doing it regularly. Tip number 5, and I'll just check to see if we've got any questions so far. Has anyone got any questions? So please type in the section. If not, we'll keep moving. So tip number 5 would be to give what I would say, give a little bit. Prospective clients will be on the lookout, so new clients will be on the lookout for value in harder times. And to be honest with you, so will your existing clients. But in terms of prospective clients, then you should consider some special offers that are perceived to be of high value, but of real low cost to your business. So that said, though, you should also be considering no-brainer offers, what I call no-brainer offers, to get people in the door. If you've got a good message to sell or a good product or service to sell and people are reluctant to change, then sometimes you will need to consider offering what we call a no-brainer offer. And I have got an example of that coming up, because there is actually a special offer on this particular webinar. So you'll see that towards the end. But you need to consider offering something in order to show people your wares and what you can do. Follow up inquiries promptly. If you have an inquiry, of course, it's important that you do that, and that it's an opportunity to show them that what you can offer in terms of value. So you need to have a bit of a think about, well, what products and services can you offer to the target market that would be of low cost but high value to get them in the door, and then once you've got them, obviously you need to look after them. Tip number 6, use technology. Technology again can be expensive. However, technology should always be reviewed to both increase your efficiency in the business and reduce costs. So you need to consider things like, do we have the latest tools that will not only improve the way that you provide your products and services? For example, it could be your computer speed, server speed, latest software, dual screens, paperless. How you actually get your orders out. But by having the latest tools available where you can, will not only give you a chance to be more efficient, but it also acts as a signal to attract the best people to work for you. So really, a lot of employees are going to actually want to work in a company that is using technology and using it well. In most cases, younger people are coming through. Obviously, the best ones will be looking to see whether you're up to date in that, because at the end of the day, if you're not investing in technology, the chances are you're not going to be as efficient, and you're going to struggle with your competition or being able to compete. Have a think about your accounting system that you use. Like, we're big proponents of cloud technology. What we're seeing is that those clients that we've put onto MYOB Live or Xero or Sasu, etc., it is much easier to service those clients in terms of getting information, checking information, offering monitoring systems. So some of the compliance work in terms of accounting fees has actually dropped because it's actually taking less time. So you should consider that. If you're paying a lot in accounting fees, they're not changing, and you're still using the old system, then perhaps you should find out whether or not you should be moving to the cloud and what the benefits are there. Again, database for those that are in sales. What sort of database system are you using for clients and marketing? Does it give you the right information? Does it give you the information quickly enough? Does it allow you to follow up clients? Does it allow you to keep in contact, etc.? With a number of different products out there at the moment. I think there's things like Salesforce, Act, and various others. But are you using the technology to help all that happen? Tip number 7: stand out from the crowd. You need to perhaps, if things are a bit tight, it's going to be hard to attract new customers or clients if you're just doing what everybody else is doing. You don't be different for the sake of being different, but you do need to look at and analyse your competition and see the way you're doing things and compare them to the way your competitors are doing. If your business is offering the same or standard services and products like everyone else, then you can bet your bottom dollar that people are going to query you on price. So then you're all of a sudden into a bidding war. So if you are, why? If you were a prospective client, why would you come to your business in hard times? So are there things that you could be doing differently that will truly help them that the others aren't? Have some sessions with your team to determine how you can get out of this sea of sameness. Work out what you could do a little bit differently that your competitors aren't doing that will actually improve the way you do business and win your business. Review your branding. When was the last time you looked at your brand? And I'm not talking just about logo, although that's part of it. Does it infer that your business is up to date? Is it cutting edge? Have a look at the presentation of your business, both inside and out. Are there signs that need redoing or repainting? Does the office, when it comes up, or the actual shop, in whatever case it may be, does it look like it looks neat, tidy, warm, welcoming, and look like that things are actually happening? So it's important that we actually consider how we think if we put ourselves in the shoes of our prospects and clients, and how we stand out, and do we stand out from the crowd? Because if we don't, then it is going to be a bit tougher to actually do well in tougher times. Tip number 8, increase training and knowledge. Typically you'll have more downtime obviously in harder economic environments. So now's a good time to actually review yourself and your team's skill levels, identify gaps that will allow them to sell more products and services. Again, there's a little bit of cost in this, but it's about making use of the time and actually increasing the opportunity for those particular staff members. And again, this could be what sets yourself or your business out from when you're trying to attract good staff. Once you have these skills, obviously you need to communicate them and update them through your website and update your sales team, so to your prospects and clients, so that they're aware of what you can do. Sales team need to be obviously well informed, well trained. They need very good product knowledge. If they don't know their product, they're going to struggle to sell. So have a bit of a look at your business at the moment. Ask yourself, how skilled are you, and do gaps exist? If so, you need to consider fixing those. Tip number 9, follow up old leads. I often see clients that have actually tendered in the past. They actually and the people didn't actually buy, or the businesses didn't buy their product or service, and they've basically then never gone back to them, thinking that, well, basically if that didn't work, we didn't win. So even if the the prospect actually did go somewhere else, it doesn't hurt to actually just chase them up and inquire if there are any new opportunities coming up, and just letting them know that you'd like to get in front of them. You should always have regular contact with these leads so they don't forget about you. Even though they might have gone somewhere else, then you need to stay front of mind. It is true that if we've done business with clients before, they know you, they like you, even if they don't always buy from you, then you still do have a better chance of converting them. So again, it's a cost thing. In terms of, it can be cheaper to do that rather than trying to chase the new ones. And look, when you contact them, you might just find that they aren't happy with their existing provider of those services or goods. So you've got to stay in contact. Again, do we have a system to keep in contact with them? How is that? How do we get reminded? How do we, do we have a system in place whereby we're actually going to keep in contact with them? How do we make sure we don't forget? So again, script, database, reminders on who we're going to contact. Do we have a sales plan? Following up old leads should be part of that. And so you need to ask yourself, have we kept in contact with those that didn't buy from us in the past? And if you don't have, if you haven't kept in contact, then you need to look at the system and you need to fix it ASAP. Tip number 10, review service levels. So this is the final one. Well, clients ultimately will remember service levels. It just may stop them from looking elsewhere. A good customer experience obviously will stick with them. They will be less reluctant to try somewhere else on price. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but if you do keep in mind your service levels and you keep track of them, and you're on top of those, you ask for feedback. Definitely, that's always a good way to review your service levels. So survey your clients and also find out what they want, what they like, what they didn't like, and put yourself in the shoes of your clients. Like, honestly, how would you rate yourself if you were a client and you contacted your business? Do you think, how would you actually rate the level of service that you or your team are actually providing? Is it good? Is it bad? Is it just average? If it's just average or it's bad, then obviously you need to do something ASAP. If it's just good, well, how can we do it better? Now, if there's been stuff-ups, obviously you need to have a system in place to capture these so that they don't happen again. Get feedback from your team to find out how it can fix it, and obviously be honest with your customers and clients if there has been a stuff-up, and offer them something for all the stuff-up so that they don't just leave and say, I'm not going back there ever again. If you have a business whereby your sales team, that obviously you're setting up appointments, use a reminder system. It could be an SMS, telling them, or an email or a phone call, just telling them you're looking forward to seeing them, usually the day before. It's usually good. And go the extra mile. I mean, the old saying of under promise and over deliver has never been more relevant. So, service levels are, in fact, a very, very good way of keeping contact or keeping, your existing clients and stopping them from making it less likely they'll go somewhere else. Just in terms of the special offer, I think that you may have, you might remember that I talked about the special offer, which is part of this particular webinar. To us, we believe this is a no-brainer. For attendees today, the first 10 businesses that contact us will get a review of their current budgeting processes and recommendations for improvement, be it at $350. An analysis of where your business's cash has gone for the past 3 years, we'll do that. You're at $550. An analysis also of your business's key drivers and a recommendation on which ones you need to focus on, which is valued at $650. And we'll give you a business valuation assessment. That's a bit of an idea on what we think your business may be worth. It's only an estimate, but there's a risk and value driver assessment, which is 80 multiple choice questions that we'd like you to go through, fill in, so that we give you a bit of an idea, and then we can actually show you which ones you need to work on to improve the value of the business. So that's a total value of $3,050 plus GST. So for the first 10 businesses that contact us, and Jackie will email you the actual forms, if you'd like to take up this offer, for an investment of $280 only plus GST, you will receive those four things valued at $3,050. Okay, so